This video is brought to you by morethanArealestateagent.com, your #1 source for real estate merch on the internet. Use code YouTube for 10% off your first order. Welcome you all to this Friday's Mastermind call with myself, Marvin Oria, and the wonderful, wonderful agent partners that are here with Real Brokerage. Of course, as always, this is an open conversation. If you are not currently aligned with Real Brokerage, you get free 99 game like this on a regular basis. So please, please, please tell a friend to tune in. And for today's call, we have, for the first leg of this conversation, we have Miss Ashley J. with Faithsteppersacademy. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about everybody?
She is the owner of the Faithsteppersacademy, which you work on taxes in all 50 states, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So many of us that are 1099 and those of us that have a 9-to-5 with a 1099, I know you're going to talk about tax strategy and ways to use your 1099 to help you save taxes on your 9-to-5 or whatever things you got going on. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you rock out and let me know if you need any assistance, but go ahead.
Oh, yes. Good morning. Well, good afternoon, everybody. So as he said, my name is Ashley. Most people call me Ashley J. I am actually the founder of Faith Steppers Tax Academy. So what I do is I prepare tax returns for small business owners, but also individual tax returns as well. So I have 1040s, Schedule Cs, and S Corp tax returns that I prepare for the clients. A little bit about what I do, my services that I offer, and I try to focus on, even though I do individual tax returns, I try to focus more on small business tax filing, because I realize that they are really, a little bit unorganized when it comes to purchasing real estate, anything, whether it's buying homes or whether it's just investing into properties. They don't have the proper documentations. And I know some people may say, well, it's just tax preparation, which it's not, because they have to be educated on. A lot of people think because of the more write-offs that they do, that it helps their tax return, but it also affects small business owners when they're trying to get loans or lenders from these mortgage companies, or whether it's just dealing with another financial institution to get any type of money on their behalf. So that's where I come in, and I help them organize their tax documentations, because they are well needed in any type of way when you're trying to get a loan from the bank. I do have current contracts right now with realtors. I work with a lot of realtors to help their clients buy homes, and most of them are small business owners. So most of the time, the errors that I see is that most of them, they don't have, they don't have everything, all their ducks in a row. And they normally come in and they're like, I want you to itemize this. I want you to write this. My job is to just tell you the truth. Like, yeah, I'm going to do everything legal and right to your tax documents, but I also want you to close. And so there's one line that if you don't remember any line, I want you to remember line 31, because line 31 is what the banks focus on when it comes to small business owners when they're trying to get a loan. Line 31 is after we do all of the adjustments. Business owners, small business owners, they come in and say, I made $200,000 for the year, but they don't understand, after all of the itemized deductions and things of that nature, they have something called what is a adjusted gross income. So no longer is the bank focused on the money that you brought in. They're looking at your annual gross income now, because now they're saying you invested into your business. This is saying now this is how much money that you have left to be able to see what I can get you approved for. So for me, that's when I come in and I tell my small business owners, I don't want you to focus on itemized deductions, and these are your profit and your loss, which is the Schedule C write-off. The best things for small business owners, if they're looking to buy a home or to looking for investments, depending on their ratio of what they want to operate in, I tell them that Schedule A and depreciation would be their best friends, okay? Because it does not mess with their annual gross income. But
and what is Schedule A? What's Schedule A, just for folks that don't know?
Okay, so Schedule A is basically like if they have other real estate properties, or they have such as medical write-offs, or what else is it? You have little different things like that, charities, little small Schedule A things, and mainly it sticks with medical write-offs. So if you have like these little medical write-offs you want to be able to write off to help lower your tax liability, the Schedule A's will be the number one thing for you. But there's a list of them that I can give you guys later off of here. But I will always tell my small business owners, focus on your Schedule A and your depreciation. And depreciation is basically the fixing of things that you invest in. So maybe they have to get, flooring done. Maybe they have to get light sheds, whatever it is. These are the things that they want to focus more on because it does not affect their annual gross income. But the moment we get to writing off deductions like supplies, and we get to writing off mileage, and which these things are still part of the tax return, because I don't want to limit them of anything that they are supposed to get back. But when it comes to purchasing, depending on what they're purchasing, I want to make sure that I'm very strategic with their numbers to make sure that they get back what they're trying to get back. And then I also not offer just my tax clients tax preparation service, but I also educate them. So what I also do is I educate them on things that will also help them lower their tax liability, because they don't know these things. So I offer them things like, hey, which is the Augusta rule, and I'll talk about that later because it's a whole platform of that. And then you also have your hiring your children. So these are so many things that help small business owners that they could use as a tax code to be able to lower their tax liability when they're doing write-off, so it would not affect their annual gross income. So I also educate them. And then I have this thing what calls I call it the tax code, the 10 chapter tax code for small business owners. So I did a small little brochure, and the brochure is I sent out to all of my tax clients. So anytime I have realtors or bank lenders that I work with, and they're like, hey, I have these clients and they're trying to buy a house and I need them to stand X, Y, and Z dollars, and they can't go over it. So I help them in that area. But then I also, on the side note, I say, hey, looking at your numbers, I want to also help you in this area for future reference. You may want to look into, applying in this tax code, trying this tax code, doing this tax code. This will help lower your tax liability, but it would not affect your annual gross income, which it would not bring it down. It would actually help bring it up, but lower the tax liability where they would not owe so much, taxes back to IRS. So, that's just a little bit about me. And I love what I do, because I love, seeing, small business owners when I can help them, because I know a lot of them closes and they shut down because of being in debt with IRS. I've seen it, a lot of clients owing over $200,000, and IRS is not going to give you an installment agreement for that type of money. They're going to say, hey, you guys to pay that money up front. You guys to pay me. So my job is to come in and I help them. So most definitely when it comes to investing in properties or just trying to buy a home, I help a lot of small tax business owners get their tax documentations in order so they can be able to move forward in this area.
So I have two questions, and thank you for the insight. We have a lot of folks in here that are real estate professionals, and I want you to walk through, if possible, Ms. Ashley, what are some things that we don't take advantage of as far as using our home, for a part of our business. My office here is home-based. I want to talk through that. And then I have a scenario that I dealt with one of my clients that ran into tax issues. And I want to get your insight on how I guess you would have handled that situation, because their person isn't doing a good job. So I'm probably going to send them your way. But give that insight for new agents that are needing write-offs in this current season, because they've got a lot of money that they're making, and they don't want to have to pay Uncle Sam all that out of the pocket.
I get it. So let me first say this before I forget. I am all year round. So you know how you have those tax preparers that they only operate through the season, and after the season, the client can't find them no more. So they looking for them. They calling their phones. They like, look, I can't call. I can't get in contact. Me, I'm all year round. And I've been doing this since 2017. I don't know if I said that, but I've been doing this since 2017. And so like I said, I operate all year round and I'm available. So if anytime a client call me, if it's they get me instantly or less than 24 hours, I am writing them back. So I'm always available. And I know that is very, very important when it comes to, most definitely when you have someone trying to get real estate property or invest in anything dealing with real estate. And, you know, they're trying to work like this because you got the lenders and then you got the realtors. So the clients is like, hey, tax preparer, I need you. Where you at? So I am very always available on that end. And so I would just share one of things far as for the realtors, you know, writing off your time. You know, there is a tax credit for, you know, real estate when it comes to your time, and I believe it's like 750 of your work time, 750 hours of your work time. But that work time have to actually be meaning that you're showing homes and that, you know, hosting calls like this. You know, you have to have proof if IRS look for it. If this is what you decide to write off, you say, hey, I have 750 hours of my work time. I want to work this, you know, write this off as a tax write-off. You know, if IRS audit for some strange reason, then they will want to see some type of evidence, you know, maybe recorded calls, or, you know, maybe you just showing that you was at a property at a certain time, clocking in, clocking out. 'Cause, you know, now we have, you know, like these little smart things that we use now to show that we was at a property.
What about networking events?
Networking events, all of that. You do networking events. You can write off. I mean, you can write off anything. If you go to the store, I tell my clients, right, we write off Bibles, we write off pens.
Hey, if you've made it this far in the video and you are a real estate professional, consider partnering with me here at Real Brokerage. Pay nothing per month, get a fantastic split, and you have the opportunity to build a business through revenue share and stock purchases. Book a call at the link below in today's video, and I'm happy to have a conversation on why I was able to grow my business exponentially by moving my practice to Real Brokerage. All right, back to the video.
Because I mean, as entrepreneurs, we become counselors when we get clients, you know, because sometimes they come in, they want to talk about a lot. And I know realtors, y'all get a lot of stories, you know, like, I'm trying to buy a house, you know, get out of here from renting. So, you know, you have to hear a lot of, you know, sad stories. So, you know, for me, it's anything that you can use in your business. You can write it off. I tell write off your clothes. You know, I write off my blazers because I have to look good, you know, when I go do meet with my clients. So I write off my blazers, I write off makeup, I write off anything because this is contributing to my business, because I have to look professional, because I'm in a professional field. So different things like that, whether it's driving your car, your gas mileage, anything that you go wrong on your vehicle, you can write these things off. Write off your home, whatever area in your home that you're using. There is a certain, you know, depending on the square footage that you use in your home, you write that off as well. When it comes to your Wi-Fi in your home, you write that off. Cell phone bills, you write that off. Whatever it is, if I have to, you know, decorate my little space with pictures, I'm writing that off because I have to make sure that everything is, you know, to make my clients feel welcome into my space and my bubble. I write that off for my clients. So it's a lot of whatever you use. I would just say this, whatever you can think of in your mind that you say, I use for business, whether you go on a lunch break, write it off. If you decide to take your clients' children to Six Flags, look, write it off. Everything is a write-off. And I know some people don't know this. I wish I had my receipt with me. Just side note, I took my daughter to, what is it called? Urban Air and Snellville. And I did not know that Snellville have an extra state taxes that you pay, with city taxes. So on my receipt, I saw that I paid, you know, the regular taxes, and then up under it, it had Snellville city taxes, and they charged me extra money. And I said, wow, y'all, you know, but that is a write-off. that is also another tax write-off that I can write off. So you have to pay attention to your receipts and everything, because all of those additional taxes that you are writing, different things on your receipt, like a lot of people don't know that on your receipt, where it say that you pay taxes, keep those receipts. Give them to your tax preparer. You're going to get most tax preparers going to be like, don't bring me all these receipts. But hey, if you want everything that you pay taxes on to be a credit for you, so you can help lower your tax liability and also give you more credit on your tax refund, if you're trying to, whatever it is, all tax refunds are different, depending on the situation. But whatever it is, you want what's best for you to help you save money and not to pay IRS that much money back in tax debt.
And I think that is key. And we have a question here that I'll drop to you in a moment from one of the agents here. But I think that is key to Ashley's point, to track this stuff, y'all. One of two apps that I use specific to my real estate business and how I keep track of everything is Mile IQ. That's a mile tracking app. Many of us do showings, and we need to be able to delineate between personal mileage and mileage for all of these showings, because as she just mentioned, the government will give you a write-off per mile. I believe it's 60 cents per mile or 50 cents per mile. Yeah. I forget what it is, but I track that using Mile IQ. Another app that I use, to her point about receipts, which is what makes things a lot easier for me come tax time, because I have several businesses personally, so I have to keep track of things separately with different LLCs, but Google Keep. So when I traveled to New York a couple of days ago for Labor Day, all of my meals relevant to real estate, because I was talking about real estate with individuals there and things of that nature, I wrote that off. And you know why I'm able to do that? Because I track that stuff in the Google Keep app. Apple has a notes app and you can create like a little section, but I personally like Google Keep because I can see it everywhere, especially if you are in the Google ecosystem. So I think that that's incredibly important, as well as QuickBooks. Yes, Robert just dropped QuickBooks. That's another really good one. I know a lot of tax preparers like yourself, Ashley, prefer QuickBooks.
Yes.
So I think that that's key. Now, those are two apps I want y'all to go ahead and download if you hadn't downloaded it yet. But a gentleman, Arrington, asked if you could explain how a cost segregation study can be utilized to significantly reduce or potentially eliminate tax liability. And this is pertaining to real estate investing. Mm-hmm. So, because I do leverage cost segregation personally on my investments, but can you talk about what a cost segregation study is, Ashley, and what that means for our investor clients that many of us work with?
Well, it just depends on, I know that have a lot to deal with, certain land and everything. So it just really depends on, and I have a book that I could send over to him that will break it down a little bit more into detail to help him basically understand, step by step, how that will be a benefit for him in his tax write-offs.
Yes. So that's more relevant, y'all, to investment, real estate property, investing in real estate property. So great question. Now, can you tell folks the difference between a CPA and an enrolled agent, and which one of the two you are, if you're one or the other or both?
I love that question. Okay, so a CPA is an enrolled agent. They're both kind of the same. So a enrolled agent is currently what I am studying for, which is IRS, but I am most definitely certified up to date with IRS when it comes to my continuing education. So I attend all of the seminars every year with IRS to make sure I'm, I have the knowledge and the skill, and I also get training. But a CPA, only thing is that really dealing with a CPA is that, yes, they operate as a tax preparer, but they don't go into, I would say, the really deep depths that a tax preparer would do. They would basically just prepare the tax return, and whatever it is, they like, this is what you get. And then you have your enrolled agent. So an enrolled agent operate as a CPA, an accountant, and a tax preparer, and also a tax lawyer. We call them tax lawyer, but you can say a tax advocate. So they kind of operate in every area that IRS will certify them to be able to legally speak on behalf of a tax client.
Got it. Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. Now, what can we tell our clients that many of them have 9-to-5s? What can we tell them proactively to prepare for purchasing a house tax-wise, and what are some things that they need to work through? and then give us some advice for our 1099 clients. I have personally had a client. I guess we'll start with the 1099 clients first.
Okay.
I had a client that unfortunately had not done his taxes for very many years because he's in a service-based business, and so when he was pre-approved, but when it got down to going through the underwriting process, we ran into a couple of issues. So what are some ideas or some strategies that 1099 folks can leverage year round to make sure that, you know, they're caught up on taxes and they don't run into any issues when it's time for purchases and things like that?
Okay, so one thing I will highly recommend is that they are up to date with paying their taxes. You have to pay your taxes, and a lot of small businesses does not do that. They do not pay their taxes. They feel like, and most of that come from, like, I've seen it a lot with barbers. I've seen it a lot with hairstylists, not just pointing them out, but most of the time they don't pay any annual taxes, or they never pay their taxes. So when it comes to getting ready to prepare a tax return, they have a lot of tax debt that they owe because they will show that they've been making over, you know, some of them make over $100,000 and they have not paid any taxes in any year. So when it comes to them trying to buy and the lender is saying, hey, I need these certain tax return for these certain years. And when I'm preparing them, which I have that situation kind of right now, I'm preparing them, they owe IRS like maybe for 1 year. I would just use this client as an example. For 2022, she owes IRS $40,000. She never paid any taxes, but she made over $200,000. Then when I did her 2023, she never paid anything, and she made more money in 2023. She made a little bit over $300,000, but she did not pay any taxes at all. So now I have her at $44,000. And so now IRS, and it was more than that, but now IRS don't want to give her any installment agreement. So I told her, for one, her big mistake was that she was not paying any taxes. I don't care what it is. You have to pay taxes. Go down there, figure out, put something on there, pay something on your business every 6 months, every, 3 to 6 months, every year. Make sure that you're paying taxes, because that is going to give you the leverage that you need when you get ready to file your tax return. And even if you did not make the number that you had set a goal to, please be just file your taxes. It does not matter. File the tax return. File the tax return for each year. That's how we can have the documents. And then it helps the tax preparer to go back and to be able to make any adjustments. Because for me, when I always ask my clients, when it comes to wanting to buy a property or, whatever they're investing, I say, what is it? What is the amount that you're looking for, that you need to be approved for? And most of them, they will get, the lender or the realtor will say, hey, I need for them to have X, Y, and Z. They cannot go under this number right here. So it helps me as the tax preparer to be able to know how to function through a tax return to properly prepare it so they can stay in that number, so they can be able to be qualified. So I would just say, mainly when it comes to small businesses, you have to pay taxes. You have to pay taxes, and you keep track of everything that you do. And like I said, depreciation will be the big one. And for me, anytime you're trying to get into real estate, buying, investing, numbers is very, very crucial. So, you can't go too low depending on what you're trying to get approved for. And, you can't go too high because you don't want to pay Uncle Sam all that money. So you have to find that debt ratio that fits in to help that that small business owner. So I would most definitely say, when it comes to, my suggestion is just pay your taxes. That's the best thing you can do, is pay your taxes. And if you have someone who's educated, as myself, not boasting, but you have someone who's educated as a tax preparer, then you come in and I already know what to do for you. I'm going to ask you maybe 5 simple questions. I want to know, what is my number I can't go under? That's really my big thing. What is my number I can't go under? Because if you just tell me, look, I need you to stay at 200K, I'm staying at 200K. That's it. That's all I need to know. And I'm going to tell you to send over your documentation for me. And like I said, everything is legal and everything is right that I'm going to do. But I have learned the system, and I've learned that what works for what business. And that's another thing. When you're dealing with tax preparer, you have to know what works for what business. So the same thing that works for barbers and work for hairstylists may not work for someone in construction. So you have to understand different lines that will help those certain business. So, but my number one recommend will be to those clients is make sure you pay your taxes and keep track of everything that you do.
Great game. We had a question here from Corey. He's wanting to know, do you write or should he write on the actual receipt what the item that he's using that's specific for his business is used for? For example, if he buys balloons and snacks for an open house, does he need to just write, on it open house and date and time, or is just putting it maybe in a folder on a notes app, specific to that? What do you suggest?
Yeah, if he want to be organized, that would that would most definitely be good. For me, like how I do as mine is that I have a separate little zip case for each thing that I organize. So I don't like, so I would have things like if it's for food, I have an entertainment. I just have receipts for food and entertainment. If I travel, I have a little set for just traveling. If I buy supplies, I have a receipt set for just supplies. So that's how I keep it separated. You don't necessarily, if you want to be organized like that, then that is, very well to be done, but it's not necessary, but it's just a category. You don't have to be very descriptive of what you purchase it for, but if you want to for your own sanity, that would be great. But long as it just separated on what area category that you spent this on, that will help your tax preparer understand what I need to put when I'm writing off traveling. So if you have like, I have all these receipts and all of this is for traveling, when I calculate it, then I would say, okay, he spent $10,000 for the year on just traveling, and then I have another one say, okay, after I added this bag up, then this would just say, this is everything for entertainment and food purchases. And then I can just say, hey, he spent what, $20,000 for the year for just entertainment and food. And then I can just write that in that line. But if you want to be, most of that is for IRS if they audit, but IRS, they really don't need, very detailed. They just needed to say, if that situation happened, they just needed to say on the receipt that, it was for a hotel. So now they know that was for traveling. So you don't have to be very detailed because most of the time it's already on your receipt.
I love it. Well, let's give Miss Ashley J some digital claps here, dropping all this game. Appreciate you. What's the best way for folks to get in touch with you? Because we have a few more folks that have questions, and just for time's sake, I want to give our next guest opportunity to go. So what's the best way that someone can get in touch with you?
So what I'll do is I will put my information in the chat box. If that, that would be better for everybody. I can drop it over in the chat box and you guys can send me an email and I can send you all the other contact information of how I can be reached as well.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Ashley.
Yeah.
Mr. Robert, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Mr. Robert Kennedy is we got a twofer going on today, y'all. So we talk business, we talk taxes. So now Mr. Robert's going to show you what the activity that you need to do from an online standpoint and you need to continue to do that will get you to the point to where you got so much money, you need to know how to write it off and what to do with it. So Mr. Robert, go ahead, take it away. And thanks for tapping in, and let folks know where you're checking in from as well. Also,
come on.
Oh, that's dope. I didn't know I could do that. Oh, that's fancy. That's nice.
Yeah. Come on, buddy. See, Faith Academy had to come back on camera.
I did.
Listen. Hey, y'all. Hold on. Let me do one more, dude. Hold on. Where's my dude? I got to bring one more guy.
This is fancy. Oh, this is tough.
Yeah, look at that. Okay. All right, cool.
Before Robert goes, let me brag on Robert.
Let me ask y'all. Let me start with this. We're gonna take like 15 minutes. Let me ask y'all this question really quickly. Do your prospects, customers, and clients, do they remember you? Let me ask it another way. Are you memorable to them? Right. So I came in right at the jump, right at the beginning, and I started with music. for a specific reason. I wasn't just being random. There was a specific intentional brain science reason that I did that. And then I brought some dudes in. We had confetti. We had a little bit of dancing. And I did something to specifically connect with you, right? So even if you don't remember anything I said, when you leave this session, you're going to remember that there was some crazy dude in there that brought a lamb across his screen, some guy that had music and was bringing you back to the days when you were dancing in the club to Sierra, right? That's what you're going to remember, right? What are you doing to be memorable for your customers, your clients? Now, here's where I'm going with this. So several years ago, I was sitting in my living room and my doorbell rang. And I looked out the window and there was this dude in my driveway and he had a rectangular board, a display board, and there were these little squares on it. And so I opened the door and I went outside to him and he said, "Hey, my name's Mark. I'm selling carpet. I got all these different types of carpet. I got Berber, I got high pile, low pile, Goma pile, all the piles. I got everything." And I was touching the carpet, the little swatches. And we were out there for about 2 minutes doing this. Then after about 2 minutes, I opened up my door and I showed him that my inside of my house was hardwood. So he said, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." And he walked off down the street. Now, what came to mind for me because of that was that he was just interested in selling. He was just interested in giving me his product, but he wasn't connected to me and he wasn't sure about what I wanted, right? What could he have done differently? So I had a lady across the street from me. Her name was Judy. And he could have said, "Hey, I was over at Judy's house and I was talking to her and she said that her oil bill is terrible. She hates it. And I noticed when I came over to your house that you got an oil tank out front. How you feel about your oil bill?" And so that would have immediately connected him to me. I'd have been like, "Oh my gosh, my oil bill is terrible. I hate it. I don't want to do anything with oil." And he could have said, "Well, if you hate your oil bill, what if I told you there is a way for me to help you lower your oil bill? Would you be interested?" Now he's got me. So why am I bringing that up? And how do we connect that to real estate? Well, a lot of times we as real estate agents, all of us, me, hand up, have fallen into the trap of just immediately slapping people in the face with the fact that we're real estate agents, right? If I put something online, if I post something, I'll say, "Hi, my name is Rob. I've been selling real estate for the past couple of years. I got a open house coming up this Sunday. You should come down and check out my open house." Why should they care about that? Why should they listen to that? What is the problem that you are solving for them, right? How do you come across as connecting with an issue that they're concerned about? And how do you do that in a way that is memorable for them? Well, sometimes we're like, "Okay, we don't have all this stuff that you got on camera, Rob, but how can you be memorable for your clients?" Well, one of the best ways, and you've seen this online. How many of you on Instagram? How many of you are you doing Instagram stuff? Right? A couple? All right, cool. How many of you doing TikTok? All right. What about YouTube? All right. Not enough of us. All right. Video is like one of the best ways right now to make sure that you're memorable and visible for your clients, right? And you don't have to create all of these crazy videos. There's this dude on Instagram. His name is Steven Diaz. He's got this thing called Cholo Realty. And it's hilarious, right? So he's got all these different things that he does, which is hilarious. But what it does is it creates an emotion inside of people. And they remember him because he made them laugh, right? There's another company called Nava Realty Group out of Texas. And they show their houses. They do their virtual tours on screen. But what they do is they don't just walk through the house. What they do is they'll go to the kitchen and they'll ask a question. They'll say, "Hey, if this was your house, what's the first meal you're cooking in this kitchen?" What does that do? That immediately starts to make people think about, okay, what am I cooking? I start flipping through my mental Rolodex. I start flipping through my experiences. What do I want to cook? Do I want to cook chicken? Do we want to do shrimp? Do we want to do chitlins? What do we want to do? Oh, no, I'm not doing chitlins. I don't smell up the kitchen, right? I don't want so you start to connect and create an experience. So video is one of the best ways for you to do that, right? Marvin said he's hungry now. Yes, sir. Right? Video is one of the best ways for you to do that. And I want to recommend for each of you, if you're not doing video in some way, get started with it. And remember that the video does not necessarily have to be about somebody's house or what your listing is. Your video can just be about real life. And you mention that you're a real estate agent on the way. Oh, hey, y'all, what's going on? My name is Drew, and I'm just chilling, going through this neighborhood. I'm driving, and there's these 5 houses. I just viewed this one with a client yesterday, and it did this, but I'm heading to this restaurant. You start talking about the restaurant, what type of food it is, right? Now we can start to connect with people. What that does for me is people see me online. I do a Monday morning show called the Monday Mindset, right? Just to get people moving. It's 8 o'clock every Monday morning, and it's about 20 minutes just getting people right. Video. And then on Monday afternoon, I do a show called Storytelling and Selling. I invite real estate professionals, real estate agents on. We're talking about how people can be better sellers, connect more through selling. And that's kind of a video podcast, right? As a matter of fact, this Monday, I want to invite y'all to the show. I'm doing Loida Velasquez, who is a real agent as well. She's going to talk. We're going to talk about how to bring the real you to your selling, especially on video. So I want to invite y'all to that. It's 2:30 this Monday. Now, when I do that, people say to me, hey, man, you're all over LinkedIn. I see you on video all the time. I see you on video all the time. And they begin to ask certain questions. So it's not about the house. I don't post a house. I don't post anything about, sometimes I post about where I'm speaking, but I am having conversations. And one of the challenges in some of the agents that I speak to, they're like, well, I don't know what should I make video about, Rob? I'm like, make video about what people are concerned about. Make video about what the problems are that people are having. Make video about what's going on in your life. If you went to Chat GPT right now and you said, hey, Chatty G, I give Chat GPT a nickname, right? I change it from Chatty G to CG Swaggy every couple of weeks. Hey, CG Swaggy, what's up? Tell me about 10 things that buyers are concerned about right now. It's going to spit out 10 things. And you're like, okay, cool. Let me just have a conversation. I don't have to do a produced video. Let me just have a conversation. Let me call up Marvin, be like, yo, dude, let's get on screen for 10 minutes. Can you do a Zoom call with me? Let's chop it up about this question. As a matter of fact, let's answer all 10 of them at the same time. Let's spend 30 minutes, answer all 10 of them. And then you could take that video and chop it up into 10 pieces and then upload that into your channels. And you've got some stuff that is going to appeal to your audience because you're not just talking about you. You're not just talking about a house. You're not just talking about what open house you have going on. You're not just talking about what your GCI was this past year, right? You're talking about stuff that matters to them, right? CG Swaggy, what's up? What are the 10 problems that sellers are having? CG Swaggy, Chatty G, what's going on with the market? What are 10 things that I can talk about in the market right now? And you just hang out with each other, record it, and then just upload it to YouTube or to your channels. And people, when you do that, people are going to start saying, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you answered that question. Oh my gosh, I was wondering about that. Oh my gosh, you're all over LinkedIn. You're all over Instagram. You're all over everywhere, right? Because you're talking about stuff that concerns them. And so that's the big thing that I wanted to share today. I'm going to give you some time for questions, but I really want you to understand the power of authentic video. It doesn't have to be produced video. You don't have to be wondering about what I need to talk about this week. Talk about your life, right? And as the more that people see you, the more visible you are, the more memorable you are for them, the more that they're inclined to ask you questions. And you're starting to drop in there. You see it in there. Hey, I was showing this house. Hey, I was doing this thing. Hey, I was just at a closing with one of my clients and they asked me this question. Hey, I was just doing this home inspection with one of my clients and they asked me this question. Right? You're talking about stuff that you're doing in life. And now you become like their morning show. You become like the guru in their ear, right? You become the person that they think about because they see you all the time and they hear you talking about this same stuff all the time. Right? So that's the biggest thing that I want to share with you. Start doing video if you've not done that yet, especially now. This is one of the best ways to get your brand out there. It's the best way to create content and connect with your audience. And if you're not sure about how to create video, a video podcast, like we just talking about, when I say podcast, you don't have to get super technical, right? Podcast is simply you having a conversation with somebody else, recording it, and then uploading it somewhere. That's all it is, right? So I want to recommend two things. I want to recommend that each of you has a video outlet or video way to capture your conversations. And then I want to recommend that a video podcast is a way that you can get connected, answer conversations, answer questions. And then if you don't have a podcast, maybe one of the ways to increase your own visibility is to begin looking to appear on other people's podcasts. Yeah. Right? Other people's video podcasts. So those are three things. I just threw a bunch of stuff at you real quick. I hope you understood the core of it. If you don't remember anything that I just said, connect with your audience, get on video. Those are the two things that I want you to take away and remember today. Oh man, them balloons are, that's sexy. I like that. Okay.
That was dope.
What's up? What questions do we have, man? What questions do we have, people?
I got a few, but
yes, sir.
I want to give everybody else, give about 3 seconds if anyone else has a question and you want to come off mute. All right. So one of the things that were non-negotiables for me as it relates to alignment here with me at Real Brokerage, Robert, is I always tell folks you got to pick one of three pillars, either video, door knocking, or making calls. And door knocking could be subjective. You can be door knocking by going to a ton of networking events and just making sure that you meet people regularly. Talk about the power of video, because I wanted to brag on Robert real quick, y'all. Robert has been a colleague of mine since my last brokerage at EXP, and we just stayed in touch. And he's appeared on Think Media's channel. If you have not heard of Think Media, that's how I learned how to get better on video in the early years. And Robert was one of the featured guests there. But Robert, talk about, one of the ways that you leverage YouTube to, as you mentioned, be omnipresent. If I'm on a budget, what are just some key things that you would say one should start with as it relates to getting on video and getting more comfortable on video and in front of camera? Because this is a muscle that you had to work. I have to work regularly. But there's some folks here that are terrified being on camera. I was at one point. So how can one start from scratch?
Well, I would go back to what I said about having conversations with your friends or with your colleagues, right? Sometimes we overthink it and we're like, I got to get this equipment. I got to get this particular microphone. I got to get this particular camera, right? But all of us have one of the most powerful video recording devices right with us all the time, right? Matter of fact, we freak out if we leave home without it, right? Like we can't breathe anymore, right? You can't breathe. So use your phone and just literally have conversations with people. Have conversations with your colleagues. I mean, if you called up, if Drew was to call up Monique, right? And it was like, hey, what did you do? I heard you just sold something last week. What did you do? What was the process like for you? And y'all recorded that conversation. That's content, right? That's easy content, right? What if Erica calls up Marvin and is like, hey, you were talking about this new software on our mindset call, our mastermind call on Friday. I don't remember what it was. Can you tell me how to use it and what it was again? And Marvin talks about that. That's content. That's 15-minute conversation. Both of you recorded the conversation and you weren't even thinking about, hey, is my hair done? Is my lip right? Is my nose, am I beat properly? You're not thinking about any of that stuff because you're just having a conversation with a friend. Right. So that's one of the easiest ways, lowest barriers to entry. That's one of the easiest ways for you to start podcasts. As a matter of fact, nowadays is so much easier for people because back in the day, you didn't have YouTube Shorts, right? If you're using YouTube, I would even start with YouTube Shorts and just say, listen, I'm just going to answer a question in 60 seconds or less, right? I don't have to do a 5-minute, 10-minute, 30-minute, hour show. I could just do something in 60 seconds. Bam, let me upload it to YouTube Shorts.
And I always say, use your material. The real estate material that we studied is a wealth of information that you can chop up into bite-sized pieces and do a YouTube short. I mean, that's big facts, big facts. Erica has a question from Florida. Erica, go ahead and come off mute.
Hey, great information. Thank you very much. My question is, I do video, but it's more for relationship and I'm on Facebook. That's where I do it. Facebook, and then I share everything with Instagram. So Facebook, IG. Now, if those are my platforms that I primarily use, but I want to do YouTube, am I going to have to, once I do a video on YouTube, move those over to Facebook, or do the reverse? Like,
Not necessarily. Not
Mhm.
necessarily. I mean, it depends on how you're having the conversation. I mean, there's this thing called multi-streaming. There are different applications like StreamYard, like Restream. Ecamm is a software that I use, and all of these allow you to go to these platforms simultaneously. So you don't have to go to one and then pull the information or pull the audience from one to the other. Yes, there's some advantages of getting all of your audience onto YouTube versus having some on Facebook and some on Instagram. But if you don't want to go through that process initially, at least, having something that allows you to multi-stream to different platforms all at the same time is a way for you to leverage those conversations.
I would suggest StreamYard, and they have a free version, Erica. It might be worth it.
Check StreamYard out, but StreamYard is also going through some stuff. They just raised their prices quite a bit. They sold to a new owner like 4 months ago. And so they just raised their prices literally this week, like doubled it. So, you know, StreamYard, yes, there's a free version of StreamYard that you can use. There's another one, BeLive, .tv, that, I mean, there are quite a few different channels. Is another one. But yeah, y'all like, what'd you just say? Yeah, there's an app called like MMHMM. Yeah. And so there are quite a few different, just literally Google, how can I stream to multiple channels, or what is a multi-streaming app that I can use, and then test them out.
And I would say even natively, you know, let's say you are having a conversation with a colleague specific to Facebook, Erica. I would say maybe changing, let's say you all are talking about, I don't know, the home buying process, and you might talk and use that person as your quote unquote guest, and you're talking about the FHA program, but you're making it like it's you having a conversation with that individual, but the audience is who's behind the camera watching you. And then as soon as you press record and you're done, let's say it's a 10-minute conversation, you record another 10-minute conversation, same environment, same individual, but now for this take, you're talking about the conventional loan process. Now you, in a 20-minute span, you've created content that you can interchangeably share on both platforms. Maybe you post the FHA video on YouTube, the conventional on Facebook, and then a week later, you take the same video file for the flip-flop and you post it on the respective platforms. So now you got 2 weeks of content from a 20-minute conversation, 10-minute. And now even from that, there are other apps that are out there that I know Robert doesn't have the time to talk about, but like Opus Clips and CapCut, they'll take your 10-minute conversations and then chop those up even more into 30-minute or 30-second bite size that you can take and share on Instagram and TikTok. I use, like, this conversation here is going to be chopped up into so many different pieces of content. That way, when I'm enjoying family time, life, things of that nature, my platform is still creating a consistent stream of my face to the audience, and not just me, but other professionals like Robert, like Ashley, like you all that have presented as well. So I make it easy for myself with all the other stuff I got going on. And I just, as Robert said, just record my day-to-day life that's happening on a regular basis and share it with the world.
Yeah. Just to tag on top of what you just said, Marvin, if we're being strategic with this, you can also say to people, hey, we're having this conversation right now, but we're going to take a deeper dive on Friday and we're going to be on YouTube. Right. So you could then just seed the conversation and set people up. Oh, on Friday, they're going to be on YouTube at 3:00. Where's that link? Glad you asked. Drop it in the chat, drop it wherever. And then, you know, so you'll be prepared for that conversation and getting people over to transitioning people from one platform to the other.
Love it. I love it. Does anyone have any other questions for Robert?
Yeah, I got a question, Robert. I need to get on your show, and I need to get you on mine, man. We got to
Let's
collaborate.
go.
Well, hold on. I got to get him on my show first. Hold on, man. We got to get him on my show. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, let's go, bro.
Okay.
You do me a favor. You can, I mean, we're on the chat. We're on the chat
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Let's talk about it. Or you can just go to getintouchwithrk3.com and reach me there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal.
And I want to encourage everybody here you might feel like I don't have anything, Marvin or Robert, that is worth being on a podcast about. When I tell y'all, a lot of the guests that I've had on my personal platform, it was just a simple, hey, are you interested in doing this? And when I tell you, it's some pretty big names that are coming and have been on in the past. And simply because I had enough courage to ask, even though I might feel like, well, I'm not Club Shay Shay or anything like that. I don't have anything to add. But you, even in your what you believe is your small world, you have a voice and you have something to add to the world that no one else can add. And that's one way that a podcast will allow you to do that. We have a lot of folks with different backgrounds. I'd love to see a woman run real estate podcast where women are talking shop about some of the things that they've dealt with in the real estate industry, all that jazz.
Yes.
From a faith standpoint, if you're a Christian, real estate agent, you want to run a Christian. I mean, there's so many ways that you could do this that it's plenty of room to eat, y'all. And I don't do these to make money per se. It's all about influence and impact. And then for some odd reason, when I focus on influence and impact, the money finds its way to me. So that's another just kind
to
of
help y'all out and maybe make you feel better. If you're freaking out a little bit and you're like, I don't know what I would talk about. Do me a favor, head on over to Twitch for just a few moments. Go to twitch.tv, and this has no like business relevance. But if you go to Twitch, there are people on Twitch that just have a camera on them and they're working at their desk, doing nothing, saying nothing, right? But people are watching.
Yeah.
People are watching them, right? And for whatever the reason is, I don't know, this world, we got ASMR, we got all sorts of different reasons why people just tune in and watch. Sometimes if you did something funny on one show, they might just be like, I like Marvin, he's funny, let me just watch him for 3 hours to see if he's gonna say something funny again, right? And so people just want to be in your orbit sometimes. Just believe in yourself, know that there's greatness in you, and don't put a bucket or whatever over it. Cause that light to shine. And I think, let me actually read the statement here. So one of my favorite quotes that's on my wall, it says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light and not our darkness that most frightens of it, right? And then it talks about when you let your light shine, when you unconsciously or unconsciously let your light shine, we unconsciously give others around us permission to let their light shine as well. That's Marianne Williamson.
I love that, man. I was going to say Coach Carter, but you're right. That's where that came from originally. I first heard it on Coach Carter, but that's an amazing statement, man. We got one more question, and Robert's got to go, y'all, but one more question from Miss Ashley from the Faith Academy. Go ahead, Miss Ashley. Uh-oh, you had your hand up, Miss Ashley?
Yeah, she's muted. Go ahead.
Okay, so Robert, I have a question. So with someone like me, doing tax preparation, what advice could you give me, like if I wanted to do a podcast? Because I don't think that what I do would, fit in a podcast type of industry.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, you got clients, right? What is the problem that people have that would cause them to want to come to you, right? What is the problem that you solve for people? Right? Have you ever had a client that was just like freaking out and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I met you"?
Oh yes.
Yeah. What was the problem?
Most definitely trying to get their tax liability down.
Got it. You got some lady that you talked about, or a person, I don't know if it's lady, whatever, but they owe $40,000, right? Yeah. And so you might have a podcast show, what to do if you owe more than $20,000 in tax. Ooh, who's gonna listen to that? Oh my gosh, right? You just start talking like the top 3 things that you need to be concerned about, or the top 3 things that you need to do if you owe more than $10,000 in tax to the IRS.
I'd watch that for sure.
Listen, you got so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, listen, this has been amazing insight from both of you professionals. Robert, of course, is one of our agent partners in the DMV area. Make sure y'all send y'all referrals and get with him because he does this on a regular basis. He is a professional he has a whole bunch of experience in this space. He is who helped me level my game up as it relates to all things video and making impact. But it is 2 minutes until the top of the hour, y'all. So I hope y'all got value from this conversation. He just dropped his contact information. And if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, I'll put all of Robert and Ashley's information in the description of this podcast. And until the next description of this podcast, I'm sorry, of this mastermind, until the next mastermind conversation, y'all enjoy y'all Friday, enjoy your weekend. If you are doing anything cool, enjoy it to its fullest because we only got one life to live. And I will see everybody on next Friday.